Hi everyone, good Tuesday afternoon and welcome to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News editor Kate Nagel. We have a full show for you focusing on national politics, local nonprofits and media, and more. But as we usually do, most Tuesday afternoons have the opportunity to check in with Jennifer Lawless down at the University of Virginia for national politics. Jennifer, thanks for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
There's so many things to talk about, can't even think about what order to even put them in. But let's just start going down the list here with Roger Stone, pleading not guilty today. But I do want to backtrack to when the FBI came and greeted Mr. Stone at his home in Florida. Now, you are card-carrying, unabashed, registered Democrat. There's been a lot of talk about the guns drawn coming for Roger. What was your reaction to the CNN coverage of the FBI coming for Roger Stone?
Look, it seemed a little over the top, except the more that you hear about it, the more you hear that there were genuine concerns that he could have potentially destroyed evidence. You know, he says his passport expired. It's unclear if that's true. He says that they could have just called his lawyer and he would have happily turned himself in. Perhaps, except to whom would he have spoken and what might he have gotten rid of before that time? I also think that any edge he had in suggesting that the behavior was over the top is mitigated by his own histrionics, such as when he said that they spent more time and force bringing him in than they did on Osama bin Laden, right? Like, this is craziness. And so it's just very exaggerated. To me, generally, it seemed like it was completely characteristic of the way that Roger Stone likes to live his life. So I'm surprised that he was turned off or taken aback.
So I'm assuming not surprised then about the not guilty plea.
No, I mean, I've been sort of the scholar of this story, and I've been watching all of his interviews. You've got to give the guy credit. I mean, rarely is somebody indicted and arrested and then appears on TV that evening. But he made it very, very clear that he felt that he had nothing to hide, he had nothing to admit to, he had done nothing wrong, and that he's 66 and he just sometimes forgets things. So I wasn't at all surprised. We also have a lot of reason to believe that he is pretty confident he will be pardoned.
And let's talk a little bit, too, perhaps now. We did hear from Acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker that Mueller's investigation is close to completion. What do we expect now, and what could be the waning days?
Well, I think the most important thing to keep in mind is that nobody has validated Matthew Whitaker's statement. So neither the Mueller team has come out and said, yes, we think we're nearing the end. Nobody on either side of the aisle on Capitol Hill has said, oh, yeah, we've heard that too, or we're happy to see this winding down. And so it's questionable as to whether that's actually true. There was some speculation and analysis that he was just caught off guard by the question, wanted to indicate that he was on top of things, and used some sloppy language. The other thing to keep in mind is that unless it's within the next couple of days or weeks, Matthew Whitaker is going to have no say over how this report is disseminated or whether it is. So, you know, I think that the delay in Barr's hearing and confirmation vote extends Whitaker a little bit, but it's unlikely that he'll still be in that position when Mueller issues the report.
And going back for a moment to Roger Stone, Jennifer, and of course, as we continue to look at the Mueller investigation, what, or if any, is there a commentary pertaining to anything on Trump pertaining to Stone?
Well, there hasn't been that much. I think that Trump has become a little bit more careful, or maybe he's just overextended and can only comment on so many different things at one time. The one thing that struck me is that this was one more example of somebody being charged with lying to Congress. And it's the highest ranking official as of late, right? Or the highest ranking person in terms of connections to the president. And to me, that suggests that it's very likely that Don Jr., who had also at the time been accused of lying to Congress, might very well be next. So, you know, I think that a lot of the attention that this has gotten and the fact that Trump has not been particularly vocal could very well be because they assume that what's coming next is going to be something that's going to require quite a bit of a response.
Now, of course, we've seen the media attention and the scrutiny and the commentary on Roger Stone. If there were to be something pertaining to Don Jr., I mean, what would it be a level of press that we have not seen before?
I think so. I think the other question then becomes, what would Donald Trump be willing to do, and at what point would he be willing to put his family above the presidency? Up until this point, there were people that were clearly part of Trump's orbit, that were close to him, that thought that they were friends, that believed that their loyalty would be repaid, and almost all of them, one by one, have seen that that's actually not the case. Michael Cohen is the most obvious example. But, it becomes Greek tragedy-ish when we get to Don Jr. or Jared Kushner, and I think the whole narrative changes, and the extent to which this presidency could potentially end not by impeachment, but by the president saying, look, I don't want to see my kids go to jail, I'll step down. I don't think that it's as likely as people probably would have expected a year ago or 2 years ago, when he seemed like such a family man. That was the one thing he sort of had going for him, it seemed like. But I'm not sure that we should put that, completely out of the realm of possibility.
Speaking of the presidency and everyone who's tossing their hat in, or potentially for 2020, as we talked last week, you said who isn't running for president, and then we heard from former Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz, specifically Sunday evening on 60 Minutes, as he was talking about his new book and also his interest in running as an independent. The outcry amongst the Democrats was almost immediate.
Right. I mean, the Democrats are concerned for two reasons. The first is that they don't want to create any kind of situation where it's possible that Trump gets reelected because an independent candidate peeled off some of the Democratic vote. Second, I don't think that they are in a position where they want to have to deal with somebody else condemning their party and what they stand for and the message that seemed to have worked in 2018. And when you have somebody like Schultz say, well, look, I can't run as a Democrat because I don't support a 70% tax on the wealthy Americans, the Democrats don't support that either. One Democrat said that. I think it makes their broader narrative and the narrative of the other candidates running more difficult. So, he has not been welcomed with open arms.
So is Howard Schultz a pretender or a contender?
I don't see it actually happening. I mean, you've got to believe that after the reception he's received in the last few days, and it's not only a pretty lackluster 60 Minutes interview, it's also as he's been continuing his book tour, there have been hecklers who have been saying things that are not ready for prime time, screaming them out at him. I'm not sure that it's worth it at this point. Also, the fact that Donald Trump seems to be baiting him and encouraging him to enter the race probably is not a particularly appealing dynamic.
Well, Donald Trump did point out in his tweet following the interview that Howard Schultz during the interview said he was not the smartest man in America, and Donald Trump said, well, that's great, you're not, because we already have that. So right. I think the big takeaway also is the president positioning him as, again, that smartest person in the country. Let's talk a little bit, lastly, about the president, his State of the Union coming up, and we're so excited. We got a little tip right before the show instead of after. Stacey Abrams is going to be giving the Democratic response to the State of the Union.
Right. I think it's a very smart move on the part of the Democrats for a couple of reasons. First, she generated energy and enthusiasm among people when she ran for governor of Georgia in a way that we really hadn't seen. She was very, very competitive in an otherwise red state. And a lot of people, I think, have the general sense that if all votes had actually been counted in a clear, fair way, she would be governor. And so the message that she took to the voters in Georgia really resonated, which suggests that the message she can take to the country, red state and blue state alike, could really resonate. The second reason I think it's important is because although you could argue that she's just as qualified as a lot of the other people who are considering a potential candidacy for 2020, she hasn't indicated that she's planning to run. And so this allows the party not to look like it's already backing somebody who will be its presumptive nominee.
And after Speaker Pelosi and Charles Schumer's response to the president's emergency address to the country, where is the bar right now?
I think it's quite low. But what I would say is remember that delivering the State of the Union response is one of the most difficult, awkward things somebody can do. This is when Marco Rubio famously continuously needed water.
Yes.
The atmosphere is very, very forced. You're preparing your speech well ahead of the time that you actually know what the president's going to say. It's staged in a way where it just sort of looks awkward. And the first question everybody asks is about the political future of the person giving this speech. So it's not a great place to be in, but it is a terrific place to sort of build name recognition and lay out a vision for the party that distinguishes itself from the president. So, you know, the stakes are pretty low because the expectations are pretty much flat.
Well, we'll see moving forward. Of course, as we know, things can change in one day or a week, and we look forward to be able to catching up with you next week here on Go Local Live. So Jennifer Lawless down at UVA, thank you so much for taking the time to Skype in.
Of course.
Okay. We're going to let Jennifer Lawless go down at UVA. We're going to get a lot more local here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center in just one moment. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm Go Local News editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for tuning in for this Tuesday afternoon politics, news, and style show. I'd like to welcome back a familiar face, Rosanna Ortiz with Style Week Northeast. Thank you for taking the time to come in.
Thanks for having me.
Because Style Week Northeast 2019 is right around the corner, kicking off on January 31st, running through till February 3rd. So tell us all about Style Week Northeast 2019.
So we're super excited to be back at the Convention Center. I can't believe it's season 16. Next year is our 10th anniversary, which is nuts. But we're excited to start this Thursday with our Seedling Student Design Challenge with Lincoln School. And then we go into 11 runway shows with designers from all over the country. And our first international designer from Vancouver.
First international designer. So tell us how that came to transpire.
So it's been really, really great for us. We have a lot of designers who will reach out to us wanting to participate, and that's wonderful because most of the time you have to really go and look for designers who are, you know.
But now, again, as you said, 16th season.
Yeah.
People are coming to you.
Totally, and we're so blessed with that. And this one wonderful woman, Delane Dixon, she reached out to us, and she's based out of Vancouver. She's a working designer. She's a sweetheart, and she's going to come to our little state and show her designs.
Excellent. With the international flair this year at Style Week Northeast. Tell us a little bit more about the SEED program, because this is an exciting initiative to really bring in young, interested folks into the world of fashion.
Yes, so we always open up the week with our SEED program, and we've been doing it for 7 years now. And we wanted to provide the opportunity to young students to receive the platform of a professional fashion week so they can see what they're getting into and give them, you know, that mentorship element to it. So this season we partnered with Lincoln School with high school students. Previously, we partnered with 8 and 9-year-olds, which was adorable. But this season, we're partnering with 7 students from Lincoln School, and they're going to be creating a one-piece collection based out of recycled material. Ooh. But they're inspired by the whole STEAM Hub program.
Okay.
So science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And a lot of people seem to forget that you need all of those elements in order to create design.
Yeah.
And we forget about that because fashion design can be kind of frivolous.
So have you gotten any little insights or sneak peeks into what you can expect from the Lincoln School students this coming week?
Yeah, so we did our last critique 2 weeks ago. It's phenomenal. And there's a lot of messaging, there's a lot of expression in their garments, and they're so excited. And we're very thrilled to, you know, give them this opportunity.
I mean, how big is that to have that hands-on experience? Because young folks oftentimes see fashion, see it on the magazine pages, see it on the screens, but really that hands-on, what it takes to actually be in the world of fashion design.
Absolutely. It surprises them, you know, and they don't realize how much effort it does take. And the fitting, you know, from the fitting to the measuring to the cutting to the inspiration and, you know, trying to get your conceptualization to execution with it. So they learn a lot about, you know, design and business.
Well, a great eye-opener for the young folks involved with Style Week Northeast. But as you said, 11 runway shows in a short time frame. How does one put that on?
So we initially were 7 days a week, which was a very, very long spread of time. And we would show 1 to 2 designers per evening. But we decided to go ahead and change the format in 2017, where we kind of packed the night. So on Thursday with the Seed Show, we're going to have 2 designers immediately following. And then on Friday, we're going to have 4 designers. And on Saturday, we're going to have 5. And then on Sunday for bridal, we're going to have 4.
So have you found that approach to really kind of pack it in and have right there at your fingertips, one after each other?
People love it. Yeah. You know, they wanted the night to be a little bit longer because previously you get there at 6 and you're done at 7:30. So people are like, I want to get, dressed up for the evening. Yeah. So we go ahead and we'll have 2 to 3 runway shows back to back, which means you don't get up from your seat. And then we have an hour break, and then you return to your seat, and it's the last 2 shows back to back.
So we have plenty of links to provide for logistics in terms of the event, but if someone's watching the show now and said, how does one, as a spectator, as an audience member, go to Style Week Northeast?
So if you are in the industry, if you are in the media, if you're press, if you're a fashion designer, you are immediately invited to Style Week because that's what Fashion Weeks are essentially for those people. However, we really wanted to open it up to the community because this really is an experience. I want the community to look at this as going to the theater and experiencing, a high quality production in their own backyard. You can purchase tickets, and you can purchase front row tickets. Everybody loves to be front row. But there's only 2 rows at Style Week, so there's no bad seat.
Oh, yes.
So there's front row, and then there's second row. And you can purchase them at styleweeknortheast.com.
Now, again, because I'm here talking with you for the person watching, purchase for the whole event.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
So plan to take part of the entire weekend. Now, I did see one of the FAQs that was about Style Week. That was, what do I wear? You must see everything.
We do. We really do. And I always hate when I hear, I didn't go to Style Week. I had nothing to wear. Come as you are. Style is whoever you are, whatever feels comfortable. I once called a show in leggings I slept in. I mean, it is. You can put on some lipstick. You're fine. There's a no judgment zone at Style Week, and we urge anyone to come and feel comfortable.
So we were able to squeeze you in here before the big opening event. What do the next couple days have in store getting ready for this all to happen?
It changes minute by minute, definitely. Lots of tying up the loose ends. We move into the convention center tomorrow. We build the runway tomorrow. So the production begins tomorrow.
Absolutely. Begins tomorrow. But we'll provide you, if you're watching right now, with more links to Style Week Northeast 2019, kicking off on January 31st, running through February 3rd at the Rhode Island Convention Center. Rosanna Ortiz, I so appreciate you taking the time to come in, tell folks a little bit more about it. Hopefully we'll have more to bring you from Style Week, as it's always an exciting event here in Providence. So thank you again for coming in. We're going to go from fashion to a nonprofit here in the state. So don't go anywhere. I'll be right back here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for tuning in this Tuesday afternoon for news, politics, lifestyle, and more show. And I'd like to welcome my next guest, Rebecca Flores with the Natasha Love Foundation. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
I appreciate your coming in today because this coming Friday is the 4th annual Love Youth Artist and Leadership Recognition Ceremony at the Crowne Plaza. And this is all for the Natasha Love Foundation. And I would really like you to start off by telling your story.
Sure. Well, the foundation, the Natasha Love Foundation, it's a 501c3 organization formed in 2008 after an unfortunate slaying of my daughter, Natasha Love Gonzalez, earlier that year at the hands of another teen.
And tell us a little bit about Natasha and her legacy.
Well, Natasha, the foundation was born out of what Natasha believed in, her talents, and what she stood for. She believed in love, peace, unity, awareness, and she was an inspiration. And unfortunately, those 5 elements are the reasons why she's not here with us today.
Well, with the foundation now being the 4th annual recognition ceremony, you recognize folks in the community, especially young people, who have the attributes that Natasha did and wanted to contribute to the community, and you're honoring, as you do each year, a number of folks this coming Friday. So talk with us a little bit about the honorees.
Okay, so for the past 3 years, the event is going to recognize 5 high school students in the state of Rhode Island, and these are young students who contribute to the creative and cultural state, life of our state. Yeah. And they are going to do an interpretation of nonviolence through visual art, painting, dancing, singing, music, and just showcasing a lot of love, what nonviolence is all about, utilizing the arts as a tool versus any type of social, behavioral disparities, anger. Yes.
And so we do have a full lineup here, and I do want to talk about who some of the honorees are. Barnaby Evans.
Yes, Barnaby Evans. Well, we have 3 individuals who are going to be presented with humanitarian awards. One is Alexander O'Neill, a young man who, went through some adversities in his childhood at the age of 3, as far as heart transplant. Then we have Barnaby Evans of Water Fire and Rebecca Boss. I love Rebecca. She is, for those who don't know Rebecca is, she is the Director of Behavioral Healthcare Development, Disabilities, and Hospitals. Yes, so yeah.
So recognizing young folks and their contributions to the arts, those more experienced, if you will, in their community and what they have done as well. And let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned it before, just the role that the arts can play in looking at bigger issues. And, with the passing of your daughter and where we are in 2019, when you interact and you talk with these young people, how difficult of a world is it that they're facing right now?
That's a very, very good question. Only because, the foundation, we focus on peace, opening doors in peaceful way, celebrating art. Art is it's a form of transitional ways and a mean for these young kids to focus on their talents. Yeah. So what we do is we help them forge ahead. We help them we help them with their accomplishments, career entry, and success through the arts. And they deserve this.
And Friday, let's talk about the event itself. It sounds like it's going to be a great celebration, a great remembrance of Natasha. Tell us a little bit about how the evening looks and what kind of gala and celebration will it be?
Well, it's going to be an evening full of a lot of love and empowerment. Again, we're having our 5 high school students. They will demonstrate love, peace, unity, and awareness through their demonstration of nonviolence through the arts. And our honorees is going to be jazz between the hours of 6:30 and 7:30. TAPA Jazz Ensemble students will do the entertainment for us. Thereafter is ceremony and dinner. And then we have KG Express, Kevin Gomes, who will, keep our bodies moving with live entertainment, a lot of R&B, 60s, 70s music, and today's music. Yeah, a lot of raffles, a lot of fun.
So, again, I'm sure the gala is a culmination of a year-long effort, again, to
Yes.
recognize the folks within the community and the young folks as well. But if people are listening and hearing the message of the foundation and say, that might be something I might want to get involved with, who are you always looking to bring into the fold of the foundation as you continue your work throughout the year?
Anyone who has a love for the arts and for our looking to help our young people, keep them out of the streets. You know, so long as we use the arts as a tool to help them steer away from violence, it's always good. We're always looking for volunteers. You know, just a lot of these young people, they need our support. And I always say, us as adults, if we're not inspired, we cannot inspire our young people. So they need us, you know, so they really do. They really do.
Well, I appreciate your taking the time to come and tell us more about the foundation, again, more about the gala coming up this Friday at the Crown Plaza. We'll provide links to the foundation and the event as well. But Rebecca Flores, I appreciate you taking the time so much to come in. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be back with our last and final guest here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center in just one moment. Sweetie. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel. Thank you for tuning in for Tuesday's News and Politics show. It's been a full one, and I really would like to welcome my next guest in, Peter Wells with the Providence American. Peter, thank you for taking the time.
Oh, my pleasure, Kate.
To come downtown here into the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center to talk media, something you know very much about from your years at the Providence American. And I just want to talk with you a little bit about the Providence American story, your journey to the Providence American, and kind of where things are currently at now. So, why did you buy it?
So I ask myself that question all the time, Kate. Quite frankly, in 2006, when I acquired the rights to publish the Providence American, it was to keep it going. Frank Graham, the founder of the Providence American, had some medical issues and could no longer publish the paper. And since I was retiring from the federal government at the time, I thought it was a good idea to do that. So that's how I got into it. It was purely by accident and not a plan.
So backtrack a little bit, and you said knowing of its kind of role in the community and here in the state as well. You know, talk a little bit maybe about the history of the paper and sort of how you, when you came into it, sort of, again, what it had meant to the community throughout the years.
Well, the paper was started in 1986. Actually, Frank Graham was one of the first people of color on TV as a news anchor. Frank, prior to that, had been a news correspondent in the military. But anyway, to make a story short, I know we don't have a lot of time.
Oh, but make it long if you'd like.
Frank wanted to do more stories about the minority community. And the TV station he was with at the time, we won't name them, wasn't too happy about that type of news corresponding. So he started the Providence American so that he could be an outlet for the minority community. Back then, it was more known as the black newspaper. In 2006, when I acquired the rights, we decided to make it more inclusive, and we called it the paper that addressed the issues of the community of color, which of course includes Latinos and African Americans and Caribbeans and Native Americans. So we're a bit more inclusive.
So what have you seen? I mean, here we are, it's 2019, you came on board in 2006. The media landscape has changed monumentally.
Considerably.
So let's talk about what you saw throughout since taking on that role in 2006 and from print to digital. What has changed?
Well, obviously the medium has changed. People want to reach out. Advertisers want to reach out more to a larger segment of community, and I think they can do that probably more efficiently these days with TV and with or of course the internet and digital broadcasting. We're going to be doing that as well. We're going to transition more to a digital base. It may not say the Providence American, it may be something else going forward, but it will still have the same impact of providing and publishing stories that impact the community of color in Rhode Island. But what I've seen over the years, I mean, as I said, we acquired the rights in '06. In 2008 is when a lot of newspapers started having problems, and we, like everybody else, had to weather that, and we have for a few years. But quite frankly, as of now, 2018, it was a good run. And unfortunate to the community, it's a historical piece that is now not part of the landscape.
And as you said, you know, the printing has in fact stopped, but you want to see something continue in some shape or form moving forward.
Exactly, right. We'll be transitioning probably to, and this is probably letting the cat out of the bag, but it'll probably be called ProvAmNews.com.
Provam News.
Provam.
Okay, ProvAmNews.com. So look for that moving forward. Is that any time in the coming weeks or months, or keep an eye out for an announcement?
I'd say by the end of January we should be up and running.
Okay, so what does that mean? You know, we see a lot of papers wrestle with digital and making that wholesale move to digital. You know, will it continue, is your vision that continues to have that same role and impact within the community?
Yes, it will. And it will also augment the TV show that I host on PBS, which is called In Another Opinion. And between the two, we'll be able to interview folks that appear in that digital format and get more information out to the community. That's important.
So there has been some research, of course, throughout all channels of media, but in particular, Pew Research has shown that specifically black newspapers have been in decline. What does this mean to communities, not just in Rhode Island, but around the country, to see less media?
Well, it is a problem, and I think that you find that in a lot of communities, you know, especially large communities. I mean, the Chicago Defender, the Amsterdam News in New York, which I grew up with as a kid. These publications are still there, and they're still relatively strong. However, the growth potential, I think, is the problem. I think they hold their base, but I think that going forward, let's face it, the whole world is digital.
The whole world is digital, but of course, Rhode Island also becoming more diverse by the year, as we know. So ProvAmNews.com is what to look for moving forward. You know, looking back to that 2006, anything that you want to share with viewers here that really sticks out, again, in that time with the Providence American as it stood in that construct before it moves all online?
Well, I think the thing that strikes me most is that, of course, when we first started with Providence American, it was a weekly paper. It was being published maybe 2,000 copies per publication. Of course, we grew it quite a bit since then, and we're doing, you know, anywhere between 15 and 20,000 copies on a monthly basis, and with a bigger distribution. So, yeah, I mean, what sticks out for me is that it grew, it peaked, and now we're moving to the next phase.
Well, could see another peak moving forward with ProvAmNews.com. But just, you know, really wanted to get you in because it's always interesting to talk about the business of media with someone else in it as well. Do you think folks generally have an understanding of how difficult the world of media really is?
I don't think so. I think that people have, over the years, have become complacent with the fact that that newspaper appears on their front step, or they pick it up at the smoke shop, or wherever they read it, and that's it. I mean, they just know it's there, and they become accustomed to it being there. You and I have an idea of how difficult it is to get there, but you're right. The general public doesn't have a good sense of that, and as much as we're bashed, by some people. It's obviously something that it's a labor of love for people who are in the media to want to continue doing it, quite frankly.
And finally, also the question of local media. We see a lot of media consolidation at the top level for both newspapers and TV as well, and local media really, continuing to grasp onto having that footprint. How important is it to have that local media be part of the average person's media consumption?
Well, it's very important. I mean, from right down from a community calendar to know what's going on in the community, down to, we don't have an obituary column, but, word of mouth is the way people get information. So consequently, having a print media or even a digital media to get that same information and get that news is very important, or people just wouldn't be informed. I mean, that's the bottom line.
That is the bottom line, and we're here to inform. You're here to inform as well, in a little different format moving forward. But Peter Wells with the Providence American, soon to be ProvAm News. I really appreciate you taking the time to come in, and look forward to hopefully talking with you more throughout the year as we continue to follow this development.
My pleasure, Kate.
Thanks
for
so
having
much.
me.
Well, you ended up being the final batter here up on GoLocal Prov today for news and politics. It's been a full day, and we'll be back tomorrow at 3 o'clock with Laura Afonso with food and drink. I'll be up at 4 talking Super Bowl and local health. But in the meantime, go to GoLocalProv.com and find us on Facebook. Wish everyone a good Tuesday night. We'll see you back here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center tomorrow. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel.